this kind of.
Sure, Babu. So this inside out in terms of grit, what are Babu mentioned about what are the 4 components or attributes that go into this inside out approach. The first one is interest. The second one is practice. The third is purpose, and the fourth is hope, right? If we start with the purpose, I'll relate to my journey and also to journey of others. I come from an agricultural background, and possibly I grew up in a small village near Pondicherry. Many of you know the place called Kadalur. It is closer to Kadalur. I grew up in an agricultural family. My father was the first graduate and I was the first engineer. But did I know my interest is in engineering? I did not, because for my parents, with whatever way I was studying, I wouldn't rate myself as great in academics, but whatever way I was doing in academics, they said either you become a doctor or an engineer, because there was no other profession that was known to them. So I simply followed. I couldn't become a doctor, so I became an engineer. It's not that I made a choice at that point of time, right? And when you went to engineering, again, at that point of time, only 4 or 5 engineering, even computer science was not introduced. Mine was the first batch, but unfortunately, it was the first batch, so they said, no, it's too new. So it was mechanical, electrical, civil. Right, and you're a boy, so end up in mechanical. The choices have been dictated by things that we didn't even know whether we are interested or not. And only after getting into engineering and after getting into job, I even realized there is a separate profession called human resources, and you could actually do a separate study or a degree in human resources. And it took me multiple attempts I said if I'm going to do it, I have to do it from one of the best institutes. It took a lot of effort to crack this entrance exam and get into an institute. Then after that, I thought I found my interest when I started building, until certain age, when I realized that most of my interest, whenever I go back to my village and start doing something with the farm there, I seem to be in my own elements. I seem to be in myself, right? So the point that I'm trying to say is, discovering the interest is not about saying that I found out, I just went and did, I liked it, so this is going to be my interest. It is an iterative process. You have to try multiple things. Some of the indicators are when you are doing something that really interests you or you are passionate about it, you will not feel tired, right? You will always be wanting to go back the next day, which is basically showing up, right? Even in your college, in some subjects you wouldn't want to go there. You will find opportunities to bunk the class, whereas in certain subjects you would. It could be because of the teacher also, but in some classes you want to go. We don't want to miss, right? Again, going back to my engineering days, there was one particular subject called engineering design or engineering drawing, which I was highly passionate about, and I actually went on to a level to do part-time faculty for a couple of engineering colleges. But at some point of time, again, I got bored with that. So it does not mean that you identify an interest and that becomes your interest all along. But again, once you identify, the next step is, it is not going to grow because you have identified it. I found my interest in design, it is going to grow. It doesn't happen that. How much you practice, the more you practice, the better it becomes, right? There is again a very interesting word the author uses, the unconscious incompetence incompetence becomes conscious competence, right? The more you start doing it, practicing it, it automatically becomes your second nature. So you don't have to think about it. When I read this book, another important one that I realized from a bias point of view, if anyone is successful, right, whether in the college or in business or in sports, we tend to say this person is naturally talented, isn't it? Yes or no, right? We never go back and look at the effort that person has put in to become successful, right? They have identified their interest, they have practiced so much repeatedly again and again and again, and they have excelled in what they are doing, right? That part of practicing repeatedly, right, is what creates excellence. So excellence is actually mundane, as in it is repetitive. But if you don't do it, you don't get it. The bias here is, even as we grow up, even as we become parents or elders and all that, the moment someone is talented, successful, we say, this person is naturally talented. Why we say that is because the moment you say that some person is talented, you put yourself as though you are not talented and you go back to your status quo. So that person is talented, I am not talented, I am happy with my status quo, I will keep doing whatever I want to do. Right? That is a bias that plays so as we don't need to push ourselves. But excellence is about practice. It's just not about identifying an interest, but also the practice. And the next one, in terms of, you don't connect it to why engineering and then human resources, and then I'm talking about actually at the age of 40, don't ask what's my age now, but at the age of 40, I went through a coaching exercise, and my coach said, there is something that you lack in terms of connecting to your roots, because after school we moved to the nearest town. After engineering I moved out of Tamil Nadu, and it actually took 25 years for me to come back to Chennai. I've been in multiple cities, multiple countries. It's been only 2 years since I came back to Chennai, right? And when I was 40, when I went back to my village and connected with things that were there and took, because my father became immobile, so it was more of a necessity for me to go and take it back. When I took it back, the interest was was very different, because I was able to connect to a purpose there. We went on to create multiple things. We run a de-addiction center in the village. We run a women's self-help group there in the village. It's all completely within the family, within us. We have not done it big. But when I was able to connect back to the purpose, the interest became more. When the interest became more, my ability to do that again and again. I used to drive from Bangalore to my village, which is a 7 hours drive, almost every week. Saturday early morning, I'll take my car, I'll reach there by about 9:30, 10. Sunday evening again, I'll take back and go to office on Monday morning. Suddenly I realized how I am able to do it. It's because I was able to connect back to my purpose. And the last one, if this connection, all that happens, if you don't have a hope, I still hope that I'm going to do a major transformation to my village. I'm not looking at changing the world, going by Mahatma Gandhi's famous word, the change starts within yourself. With my change, influence a very small community of not more than 600 families in that village is all that I'm hoping to do. When I'm able to connect to that hope, I'm still able to be interested, I'm still able to keep doing what I'm doing without getting tired, and I'm able to connect to that purpose. That's what I was able to connect to this book in terms of inside out, in developing this grid of what I'm doing it. But if you actually look out where I started to where I've come, it's totally different. Is it still going to be the same after a few years? I actually don't know, right? It's a journey that happens. But what keeps me currently is that interest that I've discovered, the interest that doesn't make me get tired, the purpose that drives me, and the hope that I can make the change. So that's how I related to this book. Thank you.
Good show. Good show, Karthik. Lovely too. We almost see like a movie of yours in life, right through. That is lovely. Thank you so much. Kumar, I'm going to pick a controversial topic. Yeah, so this growing grit from outside, one is innate, like the 4 points we spoke about, developing it by yourself. And there is also the external factor of how grit gets influenced from external. To a lot of the people who are in their 50s and 60s will be, I think, be able to relate to this, right? If you're in your 50s or 60s, right through your childhood, I don't think you grew up with a lot of things that you take for granted today. Life was a lot tougher. I remember, and we were not poor by any means. I mean, I'm talking about myself. We were not poor by any means, but you got one shirt for Diwali and one shirt for your birthday. That's it. And no phones, nothing, right? So I'm saying, so you come from that background and you heard more no's than yeses from your parents. Can I get this? No. Can I get this? No. And not for anything else. Either it was insanely expensive, they couldn't afford it, or it was simply not available at that point in time. To an era today where both the father and mother are working and the 8th standard child says, I need iPhone 16 which is getting launched now, and the parent without batting an eyelid buy that phone and give it to that child. Is parenting an important component in developing grit in children, is my question.
Yeah, it's a
I'll set the context.
Yeah, it's a controversial question, as you said. See, if you ask the people here, people who are above 60s will say, look, in our generation we were much more grittier. That's what he said, just because his dad got him one set of dress for Diwali, he thinks he's more grittier, right? So, you talk to the guys in 50s, they'll say, look, we were more grittier than you guys. So, every generation looks at the next generation as if they are less grittier, right? If I go to my dad, he'll say, oh, you're waste, right? You're completely, you have not gone through even 1/10 of what I have gone through, right? Same dialogue, right? You would have heard this dialogue many times from your parents, right? So always, the point is, parents have a huge influence on your grit. Okay? The first outside in is parenting. Okay? So there are again, Angela classifies parenting into 4 parts. One is authoritative parenting. Okay? Some of your dads, some of your mom will say, just do it, right? Don't question. Just do what I say. Right? That's called authoritative parenting. Does it help? The kids of authoritative parents, have they become successful? You can ask. The next one, the other one is called nice parents. What are nice parents? Whatever the child says, they'll get it. Ask for, they'll get it. Whatever the child says, today I go to this program, I play football today, and I don't like football anymore. I go and play some other game. I go and play some other game the next day, and the parent says, great, you're doing great, right? So that kind of going with the children for everything is called nice parents. Have those children become successful in life? Okay, so basically she has done a lot of research in this and said there's something called wise parenting. Okay? What is wise parenting? Wise parenting is trying to be teaching grit. Basically, what is hardship? What are the boundaries of life? And how you have to struggle to get a given thing, yet being kinder, trying to be more nourishing, right? So basically, it is like being a military commander, but still trying to be a church father, right? Can you be a military commander and a church father simultaneously? That is called as wise parenting. And kids of these kind of parents are the most successful people. Okay, so that is the research says. So parenting is vital in grit score, and grit score is vital for success. And wise parenting is a key element of success. That's one element of outside in. Next, she talks about mentorship. Right? She takes a case study of a football team, as I said, Seattle Seahawks, and talks about a coach who basically trains his team, and then how they are successful in 3 NFLs. So, what does that coach do? So basically he says, I bring the best out of them. Right? How do you bring the best out of a person? See, if you have a team, that's why people, if you're in the corporate world, you can relate to what I said. I have a team, right? Some I inherit, some I build, some I accidentally end up with. So if I have a team, how do I get the best out of them? So that's the key. So a coach or a boss, how does he get the best out of them? And how do you build a team? See, I had the experience of building sales teams. I was running sales for both HP and IBM for Asia Pac. So my team was large. So one of the clear hiring criteria, so of course this HP and IBM, those days not talking about now, those days we had this top school, your approach, right? So if I hire from the top 5 schools in the country, I get the best talent. That kind of mentality of these HR people, right? Sorry. These HR. Yeah, that's how I used to deal with HR people. They used to get, okay sir, we are getting the most, the bright students, and these guys are from Seoul University, these guys are from this university, that university. They will say, a lot of guys even from Harvard, so a lot of guys from Stanford. These guys are great guys, right? But when they come to me for interview, when I read, can this guy do sales? So, can they meet the numbers? When I read them, I can read them easily. Right? That is my experience. So I will say, reject. I shall, sir, great guy, great school, great scores. How would you reject it? I will just simply say, just leave it to me, I know. Right? So, basically I see guys who got higher grit score are more successful in sales. Okay? So and then as bosses or mentors or gurus, what we are, we know how to train the sales guys, how to get the best out of them. So that's basically mentorship. That's another way of bringing up the grit score. So then, the third most important element is being with gritty people. So who are your circles? If you look around, look at my friends, are they gritty guys? If I look at my relatives, are they gritty people? Or if I look at my team, are they gritty people?
Or my countrymen.
Okay. That's a sensitive, controversial topic. Yeah, I don't want to say Indians are less grittier than Finnish people. But yeah, see, I think that's culture matters. I've just come to the part of culture next. So the third point I would say is being with gritty people. So as I said, I always say, eagles flock only with eagles, right? Tigers flock only with tigers. Do you think a tiger and a cat together? Why? So you learn from, you need a more competitive environment. The word compete comes from Latin, if I'm right. So the word compete is basically, those days the word means collaborate, right? Latin word of compete is to collaborate as a team. But today, everything is competitive, right? Everything is scored based upon you are better than me by, if I have this score, if I am better than you by this score. It is not. The word compete means work as a team to achieve the end goal. That's what the initial word, how compete came from. So this has to be explained to the team, and you need a right boss to build a teamwork and build the right culture to bring the best out of them. So this is the third element. You need to have the right environment, the right intellectual environment, right gritty environment to achieve results. So as I said, if you are surrounded by people of gritty nature, most luckily you'll be successful. That's the third point of researchers. And the last point is culture. Very sensitive topic. I don't want to get into it, but it matters. If you don't talk about it, we are not honest, right? So again, one of the words of the traits of being successful. See, I was trained by, when I was I was the vice president of HP I was 36 years old. So then we were all summoned, all new VPs were summoned for training for 1 week. And all the CEOs from different companies used to come and train us for a week. And one such person was Jack Welch. I don't know how much you know Jack Welch. GE's Jack Welch. So GE's Jack Welch. Here he was 55 years old, I'm 36 years old. I asked him, what are the traits of good leaders? He looked at me as if like I'm a stupid guy, right? So, and he said, well, I don't know what you meant by what you're asking, but if your question is, what are the characteristics of good leaders? Okay, what I look for in good leaders. And he explained. And one of that, I thought he will say, vision, mission, strategy and all that, right? And talent and all that. He didn't say all of that. First word he used is integrity. So, integrity means what? I think I don't want to explain that. If I don't find a person having integrity, he will not be a leader in my team. That's what he said. Second word he said, honesty. If I don't find a person who's being honest, he will not be in my team, he said. And the third thing he said is, at the time he did not use the word grit, he used the word zeal. Right? Zeal is basically passion, and then it is a definition of the passion. At that time, there was no word called grit which management team used. They used the word zeal. Okay? And the last one he said is hard work. Okay? This Angela uses now. I did this training in 2002 or something. Okay? And Angela writes this book in 2016. Can you imagine, Jack said this 16 years before. And that was management theory. So, and that becomes, a PhD research later. So that is the definition of getting these things coached by people, mentored by people, being in the right environment, parenting. These are all the outside in ways of growing grit.
Thank you, Kumar. If after all this, one takeaway for the younger lot is that you don't have to do anything. Find 5 gritty people and hang around with them. You'll be successful. Yeah. That's the easy way of kind of getting this. We're almost right out of time, so I'm going to quickly jump into questions with the permission of my panelists. And this question goes to Karthik. Jairaj has written to me. I think I'm going to ask the question past this. Albert Einstein said success is 90% perspiration and 10% inspiration. Does Einstein's view of success match with Angela Duckworth's perseverance?
Yes, she has actually referred to Einstein in her book also, right? It is not just about having an idea. If you are not going to test it, be on it. See, passion again, saying today I'm passionate about it and tomorrow your passion changes. That may not be your passion or interest, right? It stays steady and it keeps you driving, and repeatedly you go back at it and start experimenting, repeatedly doing it again and again is what is going to get you the result. Einstein also achieved whatever he discovered it that way. He did not one fine day wake up and say, I found this out. There has been thousands of hours that he has spent in terms of finally discovering what he discovered, and Angela exactly aligns with that. The words that she uses are different, but it is completely aligned with what Einstein's words are also.
Thank you. Thank you, Karthik. Kumar, this question, I'm going to pass it to you. What roles does leadership play in developing a culture that encourages passion and resilience, particularly in the face of setbacks? How relevant is Peter Drucker's statement, culture eats strategy for breakfast? This is from Muthukumar, Chennai.
A great question. I think I don't know whether I can answer it in one shot. But let me try. So, again, from Angela's words, not my words, right? So, what are the leadership qualities, and how do you develop leadership? So, putting in from a 24 years of corporate world experience together, what I have learned in this is the guys who are grittier, definitely, I didn't know the word grit till I read this book 10 years before, right? So I used the word, passion, perseverance, hard work. We all know those words. This grit, where did this word come from, right? So, but we had mental model of that. See, we had a mental model of that. So definitely with my experience, the leaders whom I have seen, number one quality I have seen is they have very high integrity. I think, I don't know, that's my reading, okay? So that's my reading, which Angela has kind of, I disagree because she uses grit as the most common denominator of leadership, right? But I think integrity is probably one level higher than grit, if you ask me. And the next comes grit in leadership qualities. And if I see a common denominator across all the leaders who I've seen, grit is the next common denominator, which is both passion and hard work. I've seen most of the leaders whom I work with, they work for 12 hours a day. I've not seen a leader who's worked only for 2 hours a day and yet he is successful. Most of the people whom I've seen are the guys who have worked for 12 hours a day. Right? That is my analysis. Trying to put it in my own words which I have seen. So the third most important characteristics of leadership quality which I have seen in this is the teamwork, how they build the teams. The great leaders I've seen have built great teams, and they have built gritty teams. They have tried to replicate themselves with the next level and the next level. So these are the three things I see as the major leadership qualities of leaders where I've seen, where both in IBM world, HP world, as well as in currently the business world I am in.
Thank you, Kumar. Karthik, coming to you. Quick repartee. I have a lot of questions. We are running out of time. What is the difference between being persistent and stubborn? Stubborn and persistence, and how do you ensure your team stays on the right side of the balance? At times you are misunderstood for being stupidest. This is Gayatri from Chengalpet.
Key difference between persistence and stubbornness is feedback, right? If you are stubborn, in many instances that you have not considered all possibilities before you got into that decision or got into that particular way of doing things. You become blind to multiple possibilities. According to me, that is how I define stubbornness. In the process, what happens if you become stubborn, you don't carry people along with you. Persistence is about exploring all the possibilities, taking feedback in terms of how this could work. That will take people also along with you, right? That is what I see as difference between being persistent and stubborn.
Well said. Srinath from Trichy, what advice would you give to the young professionals on building passion and perseverance in their careers? Is passion inbuilt or developed? I just want to take a choice, then I will throw it open if the panelists would like to add to this. I think passion is about what you love to do, right? It's all about what you are very, very keen, what you are made for, what this cosmic world decided for you, and what you feel naturally happy doing is what your passion is. Is it inbuilt or developed? It can be both. I think sometimes from a very early age you develop this. I'm sure nobody taught Sachin Tendulkar that he should play cricket. I don't think his father pushed him out of the door in the morning and said, unless you play for 2 hours, I won't allow you in. I think it was inbuilt for him. But that is also not true for some of the people who become passionate much later in life. So you can also build passion as you get. But the idea is to be successful, you need to have some passion. Something that you do, and this famous, small episode I just want to narrate here. Couple of months ago, I saw a small video in which the guy says, the tree grows in two directions. And I found that very surprising, because for a major part of what we have seen visually, the tree grows only in one direction, right? We see it above the ground. That's what is visible to all of us. And the guy says it's actually wrong. It grows in two directions. It grows down and it grows below the floor, below the ground, and it grows above the ground. The above the ground is of course visible to our eye, but what it grows below is invisible to us. But he says both the growth have to be there. In fact, if the roots don't go below, the tree cannot go above, right? And the roots can be compared to what you do when nobody is looking. And that's what passion is about. Passion is what you do when nobody is looking, when it is dark, when it is damp, when it is difficult. How do you push through and make things happen? Now all of us celebrate when A.R. Rahman got the Grammy and the Oscar and all that. But we don't know those countless hours or days or months he sat in the studio composing and rejecting his own tunes multiple times before he came across that one tune which he liked and which became a super hit. Right? So I think passion is what you would love to do and what, even when it is most difficult. You have anything to add to that? We'll pass. I'm guilty of taking more time. Yeah. How do you encourage employees to pursue long-term goals with passion, even when short-term failures or obstacle arises? Harish, Chennai.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a question about short-term goals and long-term goals. So, basically your question is, if I fail, if I don't have goal setting, then I think you're not going to achieve anything. So goal setting is basically an essential element of success. But now, if you look at your goal setting, is it life goals or 10-year goals, 30-year goals or 5-year goals? So these kind of goal setting is important. But if I fail in one of my short-term goals, do I just quit? So the question is about quitting, right? So if I go and try a business, if I do, say I have a credibility of doing 12 startups, and today I can say that 4 are successful, I exited or quit on at least 4 of them. I had made loss in those 4 of them. I had to quit. So if I didn't quit, I would have made more loss in that, right? So it is a question of when to quit and when to pursue till you achieve your long-term goal. See, again, Swami Vivekananda said, right? Arisen, awake, and not quit until the goal is reached. Correct? That is, so does it mean that if I take in a goal, I should not quit at all? So that's a clear question. Do I need to quit at some point of time? Or if I just quit for the sake of, one failure, is it the right thing to do? This is where the research is still, the jury is out there. If you ask me, the honest answer to that is when to quit, when to pursue your long-term goal. The clear direction from the spiritual world, from the scientific world is 2 different things. So the scientific world says you have to make a judgmental decision of quitting at some point of time. But both the spiritual world says you cannot quit. You set a goal, you pursue till you achieve the goal.
Thank you. Thank you, Kumar.
There is this question is from Pawan Kalyan, Alvapet. In HR leadership, how do you identify and nurture grit in employees, particularly in high pressure environment? See, frankly, we don't have a tool to measure grit at this point of time, and what the author has prescribed, we have not started using it very, it's not commonly used, right? It is new, and for me also, only after I started reading this book, I came across or got to know that this also can be measured. But having said that, we do this in different ways as a part of the assessment. There are assessments that we do in terms of employee perseverance. We never use the word grit, but in terms of perseverance, potential versus performance, long-term potential versus short-term performance. So there are multiple tools that we use to assess, evaluate employees. Based on that is where we identify. One important thing is the relationship between effort and reward, outcomes versus reward. When you identify the efforts or identify the outcomes, how do you reward or how do you punish? Punish is not the right word. Don't want to use the word punish, but how do you reward the employee also builds the behavior in the employee which is aligned to the overall organization culture, right? The organization's culture is very important in terms of developing grit or developing whatever desired behavior in the employee. So while we don't have the exact tool to measure grit, there are multiple other tools to measure short-term performance, long-term potential, also link in terms of looking at efforts, outcomes of the employees. So based on that is where we support and nurture, coach employees to manage high-pressure work environment. That's what we do.
Thank you. Thank you, Karthik. Kumar has a few questions. Summary of all that in 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay, this question is from Santosh. How passion and resilience shaped your journey across different leadership roles, especially navigating a fast-changing tech industry? Yeah, so I think I worked for the tech industry in 80s, 90s, and 2000s, but not today, right? So I'm not working. I worked for number 1, number 2 tech companies those days. So those days, I think versus now, I can share the differences. The passion, I liked what I was doing. See, if you can find a job or a business which you like and which you have passion, nothing like it. So if you are in a job or in a business which you are not liking or not fully liking, you are probably starting in a wrong foot. Okay, that is just one answer. Second thing is resilience. Right? So basically it's about grit. So when I was playing, I think the good thing is we rode the tech wave. So we rode the tech wave where month on month, year on year, quarter after quarter, I was giving 30% growth, right, to the corporate world. And the issue came, this is another point which is a key point, resilience. See, are gritty people happy people? So there are two different things. Greatness and goodness. Success and happiness. Are they together? So when I was in corporate world, I was successful. I grew that curve very fast. Right? Was I happy? Was my relationship with my wife great? Right? I mean, that's a honest question. So, I think this is, again, the research is out there. I mean, again, reading from the environment I was in, right? We were a bunch of gritty people in leadership roles. And I would say 70% of us did not have happiness. We were all successful people, right? So, success doesn't mean you're happy. Please don't equate these two. Okay. So people, that's why our spiritual world says, if you want to be happy, be content, be less gritty. Right? That's the spiritual world. So again, the research is out there, two different things, try to get that. So, and then second thing, greatness and goodness. Greatness is different, greatness is being successful, goodness is good at your heart. Okay? So again, my experience in tech world is, it is probably one industry where great people are good people as well. So I have seen right now in my other businesses, the great people are not good people. Okay. So that's just an observation. Okay. So the next question is, what role does failure play in developing grit, and how does your guide employees to preserve those setbacks? I think we said, Angela says, Failure, again, more and more failures will make you gritty. That's all. Last point is, how can individuals balance the need for resilience with the importance of knowing when to pivot or change direction in this career? So I already answered that. So change pivot, change direction, you at least don't do it at least for 3 years. That's again research. Angela says, you can change direction, change pivot, at least give it a time. Don't change it every 6 months. Don't change it every year. So give at least 3 years before you're doing it. That's again Angela's research based upon many studies.
Yeah, I think this book can command another 2 hours of review, but for the shortage of time, over to Captain Vijay Kumar.